The moment Michael looked straight into my eyes and said, "I don't know who this guy is," right there in front of his parents and his sister at the anniversary dinner we hosted in our Brooklyn apartment, my entire world came crashing down. But what happened next would set off a chain of events that would change both of our lives forever in ways we never expected. It was supposed to be a simple celebration, the kind where laughter fills the room and stories from the past are shared over good food and wine. Michael had been nervous all week about his family visiting from Ohio. They were the typical Midwestern family, traditional to the core, with expectations that Michael would follow in his father's footsteps as a successful provider and eventually start a family of his own. "Just play it cool, Elliot," he had told me earlier that day, his voice tight with anxiety. "They don't need to know everything right now." I had nodded, wanting to be supportive, even though it hurt to be reduced to a secret once again. As the evening unfolded, the aroma of roasted chicken and fresh bread filled the air. Michael's mother, a kind-faced woman with graying hair, kept asking about his personal life, hinting at the grandkids she longed for. His father, a stern man with a firm handshake, talked about the law firm back home and how proud he was of Michael's career as a rising star in corporate law. His sister Lisa was the one who spotted the photo first. It was a small framed picture from our trip to the Hamptons last summer, tucked away on the bookshelf. "Hey Mike, who's that cute guy with you in this picture?" she asked with a playful grin. The room went silent for a split second. Michael's face paled. His eyes met mine, and in that instant I saw the fear. Instead of acknowledging me as his partner of 2 years, he shrugged and said those words that cut like a knife. "Oh, just some guy from work. I barely know him." The lie landed like a bomb. His family chuckled, moving on to other topics, but I could barely breathe. I excused myself, claiming I needed to check on something in the kitchen, but instead I slipped out the back door into the cool night air of Brooklyn. The streets were alive with the usual city buzz, but inside me was a storm. How could he do this? After all the nights we spent talking about our future, after the way he held me and whispered that he loved me when no one was around, he denied my existence so easily. I walked for hours, my mind replaying every moment of our relationship. We had met 2 years ago in a crowded coffee shop in Manhattan. I was Elliot, a graphic designer with a passion for creating visuals that told stories, rushing to escape the rain. Michael, tall and poised in his suit, bumped into me, spilling his coffee slightly. "Sorry about that," he said with a charming smile that reached his blue eyes. We ended up sharing a table, talking for over an hour about everything from art to law. That first conversation led to a date, then another, and soon we were inseparable and private. But always private. Michael had come from a conservative background, and although he had moved to New York for his career, the fear of disappointing his family lingered. I was out and proud to my own circle, my parents in California, having come around after some tough conversations. Sarah, my best friend, was the only one who knew about us. "You deserve better than being a secret, Elliot," she had warned me multiple times. But love blinded me. Now, as I wandered, the decision formed. I wouldn't let this be the end. If Michael couldn't admit who I was, I would make sure the world knew. The next morning, I returned to the apartment, ready to confront him. But the look on his face told me the night had been as hard for him as it was for me. "Elliot, I can explain," he started, but I cut him off. "No, Michael. It's time we stop hiding." The argument that followed was intense, filled with tears and raised voices, but it was only the beginning of the emotional roller coaster that would test us both to our limits. That afternoon, we sat in silence on the couch, the same couch where we had spent countless evenings watching movies and dreaming aloud about a life without secrets. Michael kept apologizing, saying his parents would never understand, that his job at the firm required him to maintain a certain image, and that coming out could jeopardize the partnership he was up for. I listened, but my heart ached with the realization that love for him still came with conditions. By evening, we had reached a fragile truce, but I knew deep down that something fundamental had shifted. I spent the next few days throwing myself into work, designing campaign visuals for a client who wanted bold, authentic stories, something I ironically couldn't live myself. Sarah called me that Friday, insisting we meet for coffee. "You look like you haven't slept," she said, pulling me into a hug. When I told her what happened, her eyes widened. "Elliot, this is your moment. You can't keep waiting for him to choose you publicly." Her words echoed in my mind as I walked home that night, the city lights blurring through the tears I refused to let fall. I loved Michael more than anything, but love without honesty was starting to feel like a cage. Little did I know that my growing resolve would soon collide with forces neither of us saw coming. Weeks passed after the dinner incident, and the tension in our apartment thickened like fog over the East River. Michael threw himself into long hours at the law firm, claiming it was for the upcoming promotion, while I buried my hurt in late-night design sessions. We still shared the same bed, but the warmth that once defined us felt distant, replaced by polite conversations about groceries and weekend plans. One Saturday morning, I decided enough was enough. "We need to talk about what happened, Michael," I said over coffee at our small kitchen table, the sunlight streaming through the window, highlighting the exhaustion on his face. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I know I messed up, Elliot, but my family has these expectations. Dad still talks about the girl he wants me to meet from church back home. Coming out would break them." His voice cracked, and for a moment I saw the boy he must have been growing up hiding who he was. I reached across the table, taking his hand. "I'm not asking you to shout it from the rooftops, but denying me completely? That hurt more than you know." We talked for hours that day, peeling back layers of fear and love until we agreed to try small steps, like introducing me as a close friend to his sister first. Lisa was visiting again for a weekend, and the dinner we planned felt like a test. She arrived with stories from Ohio, and when Michael introduced me as my roommate and good friend Elliot, the label still stung, but it was progress. Later that night, after she left, Michael pulled me close, whispering, "Thank you for being patient." The kiss that followed carried the old spark, and for a few days things felt lighter. But cracks soon appeared again. At a work happy hour, Michael invited me to his firm's rooftop event in Midtown. I showed up, excited to be part of his world, even if only as a friend. The city skyline glittered below us, and colleagues laughed over cocktails. One partner clapped Michael on the back, asking about his personal life, and Michael smoothly changed the subject, avoiding my gaze. I stood there holding my drink, feeling invisible once more. On the cab ride home, the argument reignited. "You said small steps," I reminded him, my voice rising. "That was a small step, Elliot." He shot back, frustration flashing in his eyes. "You don't understand the pressure at work. One wrong move, and the partnership slips away." The words hung heavy between us, and when we reached the apartment, I slept on the couch for the first time in our relationship. The next morning, Sarah texted me to meet at our favorite park in Prospect Heights. As we walked the paths lined with blooming cherry trees, she listened patiently. "He's scared, Elliot, but you're losing yourself waiting for him to catch up." Her words hit hard because she was right. I had started questioning my own worth, wondering if my love was enough to bridge the gap between his world and mine. That evening, I received a call from my mother in California. She sensed something was off through our weekly chats, and when I confided a little, she said gently, "Honey, love should lift you up, not make you hide." Her support reminded me of the acceptance I had at home, something Michael still craved. Meanwhile, Michael's family pressure mounted when his mother called, asking about his dating life again. He lied again, saying he was too busy for relationships, and I overheard the conversation from the next room, my stomach twisting. Later, he apologized profusely, but the pattern was wearing me down. I began spending more evenings with Sarah and our mutual friends who knew the truth, and their encouragement planted seeds of doubt about staying silent. One night, after a particularly draining day at the agency, I sat alone on the fire escape, looking out at the Brooklyn skyline, the distant hum of traffic mirroring the chaos in my heart. I pulled out my phone and for the first time typed a draft post. I never sent a simple declaration of love for Michael with a photo from our private moments. Deleting it felt like defeat, but the act itself sparked something new inside me. The misunderstanding came unexpectedly the following week when I spotted Michael having lunch with a female colleague at a cafe near his office. She was laughing, touching his arm, and from across the street, it looked intimate. Jealousy surged through me, and when I confronted him that night, he explained it was strictly work, a client meeting, but the seed of doubt had been planted. "Do you even want this anymore?" I asked, tears stinging my eyes. His silence spoke volumes, and the rift between us widened further. Yet in quiet moments he still reached for me, proving the love was there, just buried under layers of fear. The psychological toll was mounting, and I knew a breaking point was approaching fast. Friends started noticing my distraction at work, and Sarah urged me to consider what I truly deserved. The decision to push for more openness was forming, but I had no idea how soon it would be forced into the open by circumstances beyond our control. The misunderstanding about the lunch lingered like a shadow over our already strained relationship. Even though Michael swore it was professional, the image of him smiling at that colleague replayed in my mind during sleepless nights. I threw myself deeper into my design projects, creating bold graphics for a social justice campaign that ironically mirrored my own internal battle. One afternoon, Sarah dragged me to a gallery opening in Chelsea where we ran into an old college friend who knew nothing about Michael. When she asked if I was seeing anyone, I hesitated, then said, "It's complicated," the words tasting bitter. Sarah pulled me aside afterward. "You can't keep living like this, Elliot. Secrets are eating you alive." Her concern was genuine, but it only amplified the pressure building inside me. Meanwhile, Michael's firm announced a big gala event in 2 months where partners would be named, and he was on the short list. The invitation arrived in the mail, and he stared at it for a long time before asking if I wanted to attend as his plus one, but with the usual caveat, as a friend. I agreed reluctantly, hoping it might be the small step we needed. As the weeks ticked by, family expectations intensified when Michael's parents announced a surprise trip to New York for his father's birthday. The visit brought back painful memories of the anniversary dinner, and I braced myself for more denial. During their stay, we hosted another meal, this time with Lisa joining via video call. Michael introduced me again as his roommate, but his mother's questions grew pointed. "You're such a nice young man, Elliot. Are you seeing anyone special?" I forced a smile, answering vaguely, while Michael shifted uncomfortably in his seat. The tension peaked when his father pulled him aside for a private talk about settling down. I overheard snippets through the thin walls about finding a good woman and starting a family. Michael emerged looking drained, and later that night, he confessed how torn he felt. "I love you, Elliot, but I don't know how to reconcile the two worlds." His vulnerability touched me, and we held each other until morning, finding temporary peace in the silence. But peace shattered when Sarah accidentally let something slip at a group brunch with mutual friends. One of them, an acquaintance from Michael's firm circle, asked about my relationship status, and Sarah, in a moment of protectiveness, replied, "He's with someone amazing, but it's complicated because the guy is still in the closet." The words spread like wildfire through our social circle, and by evening a concerned colleague texted Michael asking if everything was okay. When he confronted Sarah, she apologized profusely, but the damage was done. Michael was furious, pacing the apartment, his voice shaking. "This is exactly what I was afraid of, Elliot. Now people at work are whispering." I tried to defend her, but deep down I felt a strange relief that the secret was cracking open. The betrayal Michael felt toward me for not controlling the narrative led to our first real breakup conversation. "Maybe we need space," he said, tears in his eyes, and for 3 agonizing days we barely spoke, living like ghosts in the same apartment. Those days were hell. I questioned every choice that led us here, replaying the denial at dinner, the hidden dates, the whispered promises. Sarah visited, bringing takeout, and listening as I poured out my heart. "You've grown so much, Elliot, but Michael has to choose to grow too." Her words resonated, and during the separation, I started journaling my feelings, turning raw emotion into sketches that captured the pain of hidden love. When Michael finally reached out suggesting we talk, I agreed, meeting him at the same coffee shop where we first connected. Over lattes, he admitted the fear had paralyzed him, but the time apart made him realize he couldn't lose me. We reconciled, tentatively agreeing to attend couples counseling, a small but significant step toward honesty. Yet the psychological scars remained, and the upcoming work gala loomed like a crossroads. I began preparing mentally for the possibility of forcing the truth into the light, not out of spite, but out of love for the man I knew he could become. The misunderstanding with the colleague was cleared, but new tensions arose when Michael's sister called privately asking if something was going on between us. I dodged the question, respecting his pace, but the weight of all the secrets was becoming unbearable. Friends who suspected started offering subtle support, while family pressure from Ohio continued through daily calls. The turning point was approaching, and I could feel the universe shifting toward a moment that would demand courage from both of us. My decision to no longer hide was solidifying with each passing day, and though fear gripped me, the alternative of losing myself completely was far worse. The story of our love was about to take its most dramatic turn yet. Counseling sessions started slowly, but they peeled away layers we had long ignored. The therapist, a compassionate woman in her 50s, encouraged us to voice our deepest fears. Michael spoke of disappointing his parents and risking his career, while I expressed the pain of feeling invisible in his world. Progress was gradual, with small victories like Michael introducing me as his boyfriend to one trusted colleague who responded with surprising support. Yet the betrayal from the earlier slip still lingered, creating moments of doubt. One evening after a session, we walked along the Brooklyn Bridge, the lights of Manhattan sparkling across the water. "I'm trying, Elliot," Michael said, squeezing my hand in the shadows where no one could see. I believed him, but the need for more burned brighter. Work at the agency picked up with a major campaign deadline, and the distraction helped, but my mind constantly drifted to the gala only weeks away. Michael's promotion hung in the balance, and he grew increasingly anxious, practicing his acceptance speech in front of the mirror while I watched from the doorway, wondering if I would ever be part of that public success. The secret began unraveling further when Lisa called Michael late one night after overhearing their parents discuss setting him up on a blind date. "Mike, I know there's more to your life than you're saying," she pressed gently. He deflected, but the conversation left him shaken. He shared it with me afterward, and for the first time he considered telling her the truth. We rehearsed the words together late into the night, and the next day he made the call. Lisa's reaction was mixed shock, followed by acceptance and a promise to keep it private for now. The partial revelation lifted a weight from Michael's shoulders, and our relationship strengthened in the following days with more open affection at home. However, societal pressure mounted when a conservative client at Michael's firm made homophobic remarks during a meeting. Michael stayed silent to protect his position and later confided in me how much it hurt. "I hate hiding who I am," he admitted, and in that moment I saw real growth. Yet a new crisis emerged when my own family planned a visit to New York. My parents were supportive but unaware of the full extent of our secrecy. When they arrived, we hosted them for dinner, and Michael excelled at playing the charming roommate. My mother pulled me aside later, whispering, "He looks at you the way your father looks at me. Don't let fear win." Her insight gave me courage, and that night I suggested to Michael that we come out to my parents together. He agreed nervously, and the conversation the next morning was emotional but affirming. My father hugged him, saying, "Welcome to the family, son." The acceptance from my side contrasted sharply with Michael's ongoing family struggles, and it highlighted the uneven path we walked. The betrayal feeling resurfaced briefly when Michael hesitated to post a simple photo of us on his private social media, but after discussion, he did it, tagging me as his partner. The small act felt monumental, and comments from close friends poured in with support. As the gala approached, preparations intensified. I bought a new suit, and Michael rehearsed his speech, including a line about personal growth that hinted at deeper changes. The night before the event, we lay awake talking about the future. "Whatever happens tomorrow, I'm proud of us," I said. He kissed me deeply, and for the first time in months the love felt unburdened. But the morning of the gala brought unexpected news. Michael's parents had decided to fly in for the event as a surprise. Panic set in as we realized the potential for confrontation. I offered to stay home, but Michael shook his head. "No. It's time." The drive to the venue was silent, each of us lost in thought about the possible outcomes. At the gala, the ballroom glittered with chandeliers and influential guests. Michael mingled confidently, introducing me as his boyfriend to several colleagues, the words coming easier now. His parents arrived midway through, and the shock on their faces was palpable. His mother's eyes welled with tears while his father remained stoic. During a quiet moment, Michael pulled them aside and spoke from the heart about his identity, his love for me, and his hope for understanding. The conversation was raw, but by the end his mother hugged me, whispering, "We just want you happy." The major turning point arrived when Michael took the stage for his speech. Instead of the prepared words, he added a personal note, thanking his partner for teaching him courage. The room erupted in applause, and in that instant I knew our journey had reached a new chapter. The psychological growth was evident in both of us as we faced consequences together, stronger than before. Yet the story was far from over, as new challenges and deeper acceptance awaited. The gala speech marked a seismic shift. Colleagues approached us afterward, offering congratulations, and the partners announced Michael's promotion on the spot, praising his authenticity. His parents stayed the weekend processing the news, with long conversations filled with questions, tears, and eventual understanding. His father even shook my hand, saying, "You make him better, son." Back in the apartment that Sunday night, Michael and I celebrated quietly with takeout and reflection. I couldn't have done it without you pushing me, he admitted, pulling me close. The relief was profound, but the journey had taken its toll, and we both needed time to heal. Work for Me flourished as the campaign I designed went viral, celebrating diverse stories, including subtle nods to LGBTQ experiences. Sarah threw us a small gathering with friends who had supported us through the ups and downs, toasting to new beginnings. Yet old fears occasionally resurfaced when Michael received a concerned call from a distant relative, but he handled it with newfound confidence. As months passed, our relationship evolved into something public and balanced. We attended Pride events hand in hand and posted photos openly. Michael's family invited us to Ohio for the holidays, the first time I was welcomed as a partner. The trip was eye-opening, with family dinners where stories were shared and acceptance grew. Back in New York, we moved into a larger apartment, symbolizing our commitment. Challenges still arose, like navigating workplace dynamics or family expectations, but each obstacle strengthened our bond. I watched Michael blossom into the man he was meant to be, advocating for inclusion at his firm and supporting my creative pursuits. Our love story became one of mutual growth, sacrifice, and truth. Friends remarked on the change in us, both the light in our eyes when we spoke of each other. The psychological consequences of the past had transformed into lessons of resilience. One crisp autumn evening, we returned to the park where our imagined future had once felt impossible. Michael got down on one knee under the glowing lights, proposing with a simple ring and words that captured our entire journey. "You taught me to live openly, and I want to spend forever doing that with you." Tears streamed down my face as I said, yes, the moment perfect in its simplicity. Planning the wedding brought joy and minor stresses, but we faced them together. Invitations went out to family and friends from both sides, and the ceremony was set for spring in a Brooklyn venue overlooking the city that had witnessed our struggles and triumphs. As the date approached, reflection filled our days. We had come so far from the denial at dinner to this public celebration of love. The sacrifices, the misunderstandings, the revelations had all led here, forging two men into better versions of themselves. The wedding day dawned bright and clear. Guests filled the space, including Michael's parents, who walked him down the aisle with pride. Vows exchanged spoke of courage, acceptance, and the beauty of choosing each other every day. The kiss that sealed our marriage was met with cheers, and in that instant the full circle of our story felt complete. Yet life continued with new adventures, travel, career milestones, and the quiet daily choice to love openly. Looking back, the decision to force the truth into the light had been the catalyst for everything beautiful that followed. Our bond proved unbreakable because it was built on honesty, not fear. The journey of identity, love, and acceptance had reshaped us, both teaching the world that true connection demands courage. As we danced under the stars that night, surrounded by loved ones, the future stretched endlessly promising. Years later, as we sat on the same Brooklyn rooftop where the gala had changed everything, Michael and I reflected on the path that brought us here. Our life together included an adopted son, a thriving careers, and a circle of friends who celebrated every milestone. Michael's family visited often, fully embracing our family unit, while my parents doted on their grandson with unconditional love. The societal pressures that once threatened us now seemed distant lessons in resilience. Friends who had witnessed the early struggles often asked how we made it through. "By choosing truth every day," I would reply. The story of our love had inspired others in the community, some reaching out for advice on coming out or navigating hidden relationships. We shared our experiences, humbly emphasizing that every journey is unique, but honesty remains the foundation. One quiet evening, while watching our son play, Michael turned to me with a smile. "Remember when I denied you at that dinner? I was so scared, but you saved us both." His words carried the weight of growth, and I squeezed his hand, grateful for the man he had become. The misunderstandings, betrayals, and sacrifices had all served a purpose, forging an unbreakable partnership. As the sun set over the city skyline, glowing with possibility, we knew the fight for acceptance continued for many, but for us the battle was won through love and courage. Our family thrived, and the legacy we built was one of authenticity and hope. True or false? Forcing the public revelation despite the pain and fear was the only way Elliot and Michael could truly find acceptance and build a lasting life together.